with Asian women, the larger narrative is that we're very non-threatening, very meek, and submissive. A lot of self-doubt stems, I think, from these stereotypes. I do remember being younger and thinking about whether or not I even look like what an Asian woman should look like. Asian women are supposed to be really thin and small, and, I'm not either. So, kind of questioning of, am I feminine enough is a challenge. I've worked in tech now for close to 9 years. When you are an underrepresented person in tech, it is the death by 1,000 paper cuts. The narrative out there in the press has largely been whites and Asians are running Silicon Valley, right? And I think pushing this assumption that Asians are essentially, accepted like white people, but we know that's not true. Even when a company has a large Asian and Asian American kind of workforce, you see very few Asians and Asian Americans in roles of leadership. It's almost like, well, we're good enough to be kind of the base of your workers, but we are not being promoted, and it's called the bamboo ceiling.
Chinatown still represents a cultural home base for the Chinese American community. And so when we think about the technology boom that's happening in San Francisco, we can ask, has it helped the average resident of Chinatown, many of whom are still underemployed, living in substandard housing, and struggling to make ends meet?
I read headlines like, white and Asian people are doing really well. I mean, you come into a community like this, and that's not the case.
Well, I think that, we have to point out that not all Asian Americans are doing well, to force people to see more clearly and more truthfully about all the different groups who are underrepresented.
Right.
And, at the top of that list right now are African Americans and Latinos in tech.
Asian Americans are being used in a way that we don't even realize. We think it's a great thing that we're kind of being accepted into this, exclusive club. But what does it mean when we are kind of used to say, well, this group made it?
The model minority myth is so dangerous for exactly this reason.
Yep.
It's not only that it hides the needs of Asian Americans who are not doing well and still facing challenges, but it can be very, very dangerous and harmful for other communities of color. Asian Americans are at the front line of this. And so we can choose to just assimilate into a predominantly white culture and accept the fact that there's still a lot of ongoing discrimination and bias, or we can reject that.
When people hear about racism or sexism from somebody who has had those experiences, they're expecting things like, oh, did somebody call you the N-word? Did somebody, try to sexually harass you? And it's never those things. It is the kind of, I'm gonna cut you off 4 times in a meeting. I'm asking you to take notes, and only you, and you're the only woman in this meeting. Things like that, it just makes you, at the end of the day, wonder, what are you and how do you fit in?
Hi, how are you? I'm so hungry.
Diversity in tech really became kind of the big focus for you and Mitch. Would you say in the last couple of years?
In the mid-'80s, I started a diversity council. That was the dawn of the personal computer industry. And in the 80s, 40% of the computer science degrees were going to women. Mm-hmm. When tech was about hardware, it was about building these massive computers. Software was what women did. And now that software is everything, the women are few and far between. We had one CEO who was coming to us for funding say he didn't want to hire any women because they were all living together, and it was just going to be awkward, and they want to drink beer and they want to do whatever they want to do, and that having girls would kind of limit their style.
I think about why diversity is important. It's not just about representation at a company, but it's really about how are the perspectives of those people going to actually translate over to your product. If you can imagine more diverse teams thinking about what to create and what to build, what we don't need is another photo sharing app. What we don't need is like another online dating app. What we do need are apps that are going to solve the problems that, underserved communities are experiencing.
Thank you and welcome to Pandora. I want to introduce Lisa Lee.
As said, my name is Lisa, and I head up diversity initiatives here. We keep saying that, Silicon Valley is kind of a place where you can make your own rules, like as long as you have the hardcore skills and you're passionate about what you do, this is a place for you. And I think that's exactly the thing. There are buts.